Okay, today's daf is Masechta Bava Metzia Daf Samach Tes. We'll start. Um, we're going to start from the bottom of the page. B'nai Rav Ilish. If it's upside down, just rotate your screen. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to rotate the PDF. Anyway, the Gemara says like this. We're going to start from Daf Samach Ches Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Let's just review how this works. Um, uh, in the time of basic investment, when you want somebody to manage something for you, so you would give that person an investment, whether you're giving him fruits to manage or you're giving him money to manage, whatever it is, they would split the profits. Okay, the money manager or the manager of the investment would split the profits. However, and this is very important, he would guarantee 50% of the loss. If there was a total loss, the investor gets 50% of his money back. So the Chachamim felt that if you view it that way, then basically the investor is loaning the manager 50% of the money. He's basically loaning it because he's guaranteed that return. So therefore, the money manager is now doing something for free for the investor. What's he doing for free for the investor? He's taking in the other half of the money, and he's taking in the other half of the money and managing that money for him, managing that investment for him, and let the investor keep half. And that's free. That's a free. He's getting his loan back, plus he's getting like a ribis return. So because of that, therefore, our Mishnah required that in addition to such an arrangement, the investor has to pay a wage to the money manager, or maybe not even a minimum wage. He has to pay him a minimum wage, or according to some opinions, all he has to do is, maybe share a ketchup with him or something like that. Give him a drink, but nothing more than that. So let's see the Gemara. The Gemara tells a story. B'nai Rav Ilish, the sons of Rav Ilish, his father, this Rav Ilish passed away, and he was a money lender. He was an investor. Nafik alei ha'ushtara, a star. They researched, and he had a document that he invested to have a kosav behei palga ba'aga palga behefsid. That the document said that he gets half the return, he gets half the profits, and he only shares in half the losses. So, but it didn't say in the document that Rav Ilish paid the money manager for managing the investment. So the Gemara said, Amar Rava, who knew this Rav Ilish who passed away, Gavar Rabba, who he was a great person. He would never do such an isser. In other words, he would never not pay the money manager for his investment. But the document did not say that he was paying his money manager. So therefore, there must be that what this document cannot be taken literally. That Rav Ilish would share half the profits or half the losses. So Manashach, you have to read this document as it says, Manashach, I palga ba'aga trei tilsa behevsid. If Rav Ilish said he was going to take half the profits, so then the investor would have taken 2/3 of the loss. And the fact that really the investor should take only half the loss, and he's agreeing to take 2/3 of the loss, so then that extra risk that the investor is taking is in liu of paying the money manager for his tircha. So you have to read the document that way. Now, or we go to the Samach Tes Samad Aleph, Ipalga behefsid, if Rav Ilish chose that he's going to take half the losses, Trei Tilsa ba'agar, then 2/3 he would have taken 2/3. If Rav Ilish was taking half the losses, then Trei Tilsa ba'agar, then it means he wasn't taking just half the profit. He was taking 2/3 of the profits. In other words, Rav Ilish was getting paid for extra profit. But there was no way that you could read this document literally, because the way the document is read literally, there's a ribis problem in the document. Rav Kahana said, not true. I said this teaching in front of Rav Zvid Meredoi, but Amali, maybe the document is read literally, half the profits and half the losses. But Dilma, Rav Ilish, Toivel Ime Betzir Hava. Rav Ilish gave him a drink or something, or dipped with him in his dip. In other words, the Amar Rav Nachman, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Nachman said the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, who said that you don't really have to pay the money manager a full wage. Yeah, you could just give him a little, you just give him a token just to get by the ribbis problem. A lot of this ribbis problems, as you can see, is just to so it doesn't appear like ribbis because it's not really ribbis. So because it's not really a loan or whatever, you can view it other ways, but people think it's that way. So in order to get by it, you just give them a little drink, a little dip in your dip, and maybe that didn't have to be written into the document. Amalei, but that's only if you paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Amalei. So he answered back, Lav hilchase itmar. We don't pass, even though it didn't say that halach is like Rabbi Yehuda. Elashita itmar. It was an opinion that you go like Rabbi Yehuda. Hachinami mistabra. The Eloi tema hachi lame le lemechshel lemema halacha halacha lema halacha Rabbi Yehuda demekel bekulin. In the previous Gemara, the Gemara ended off that the halacha is like this one and like that one, and all seemed to say that you pay a tiny, tiny wage. And Rabbi Yehuda was the most lenient and said that you all you got to do is let him dip his French fry in your ketchup, something like that. So why did we have to say halacha, halacha, halacha? Just say that halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, who's the most lenient. So the fact that the Gemara did not do that, it must be that the Gemara is just saying the word halacha. Sometimes the Gemara will say halacha is like such and such, but that's just saying that people follow that person, but that's not really what the Gemara felt is the halacha. Amar Rav. Okay, so Rav says like this, new Gemara. Rav says, here's another way to get the money manager to get paid. If you don't want to pay him a wage, right? So you can make an arrangement with him that if he returns more than 30%, he makes a 30% return, everything beyond 30% belongs to him. Oh, so in that case, so that could be his wage. That if you didn't actually pay him a wage, but there is a good chance that if he hits the 30% return, he will keep all the profits. So that could be in lieu of his wage. Amarav, that's what Rav says. Moshe shlish b'scharcha. If you give him above and beyond a third as his wage, so then then you don't have to pay him a separate wage, the money manager. Let him split the profits up until a third. And then you tell the money manager to get by the ribbis problem, we allow you that any profits above a third, above 30%, is yours. So that was Rav's solution. Shmuel says, that's not always you're going to have a wage. It doesn't mean you're going to always have a wage. Because if the money manager did not hit the 30% return, okay, so then he goes home empty-handed. And it comes out that you didn't pay the money manager, and you have a problem of ribis. You have to give him some sort of wage, like a minimum wage. So the Gemara asks back, Shmuel seems correct. The Shava Rav ain't koitzes loydina. Does Rav hold that you don't have to give the money manager anything? Rav said reish igla lepatoima. Rav said that for someone who fattens a cow, right, you have to give the head of the cow. Let's say you have a baby calf, right, a baby cow, and it was given over to a shepherd to fatten it up, and so as in liu, besides they split the profits of the cow, right? As it gets fatter, they split the profits, but the head of the calf, that part belongs to the manager of the investment. So you see, even Rav said you have to pay the person separately, and you can't just rely on this a super good arrangement if he hits the 30% mark. My love, then Rav said in all cases you have to give the head of the calf to the fatter, because even if the arrangement was, you said Moshe shlish b'scharcha, that you're going to get above and beyond a third will be your reward. So you see, Rav still requires a wage, despite you have such a expression of Moshe shlish. And says the Gemara, loy, not so. The Kama lay, that case, the Rav says that you have to give the head of the calf to the patoima, which is the person that fattens the calf, the manager of the investment, because he said like this, he gave him a choice. Do you want to take Moisa Shlish above and beyond the 30% return belongs to you? Or if you want to take as you wait, Yiresh Egla the Patayma, or you're going to take the head of the calf. So if he didn't take the Moisa Shlish, that's when you have to give him the head of the calf. If you want, I can tell you that really this above 30% has its problems because it's very hard to hit the 30% return. But when is it Rav say that would be permitted? Ki kama Rav moisa shlish b'sarcha mutar, that above 30% is mutar, kegoin, that the money manager, and I'm calling it money manager, but the animal manager, is that means that you gave an animal to a shepherd to fatten it up, and this shepherd kegoin the islay behemel today. He had his own animal, and therefore that he was fattening up. So he put your animal and says, "Join, I'm fattening animals." And therefore, it wasn't such a big bother for him to manage your animal, the investor's animal. So since he didn't work so hard, then Moshe Shlish B'Scharcha would be mutar. The Amrei Inishi, because people says Gabe L'Toire. When you're gathering food for one ox, it's the same amount of bother for gathering food for many oxen. So therefore, it wasn't such a big bother regarding the shepherd who was managing this investment, and therefore the Rav said you don't have to pay the shepherd an extra wage, just give him this condition of moiser shlish. And that's with anything in life. I mean, if to work on a small investment deal or small mortgage is the same amount of work as working on a large one. And the Gemara says a story. Rabbi Loza mer Hargoina zaven behema. Rabbi Loza from Hargoina bought an animal. The Yov leila arise, and he gave it to his sharecropper, or the person that he's going to manage the investment. So he bought an animal and he gave it to the person that was going to manage this investment, mifatim late, so that person will fatten the animal. Again, they in the ancient times, that the way you bought an animal, you didn't have time to be busy with the animal. You gave it to a special person who fattened the animal, and then you resold the animal. That was a good way to make money. But what did he do, this Rab Lazar? He gave it to this arise to fatten the animal, and he gave the head of the animal as his extra wave. Besides splitting the profits, he gave the head of the animal to the mefatein. And he gave him half of the assets. So now his wife saw Amalei Devisit, like his wife wanted her husband to earn more money. In other words, to earn a bigger return, to get more money. The wife of the person that was fattening the animal. So he said to him, if you invest in Rab Lazar's animal, when he buys another animal, not only are you going to get the head of the animal, Alisa, he's going to give you the tail of the animal. So you'll get more. So, put up some of your own money to help Rab Lazar, so you become a partner with Rab Lazar, and then you're the one that's fattening the animal. And not only are you going to get the head of the animal, you're going to get half the tail. So sometimes when you see, sometimes it's best not to put your own money in the game. It's best to use AMG, andere Menschen's Geld, because that's what happened over here. Also, Zavan Bahadeh, he invested with Rab Lazar. They bought the animal, and he was the one that's fattening the animal. Poliglei Malisa, and they divided half the tail, which is a good part of the animal. But when it came to Torah Naflik Beresha, he said, then Rab Lazar told him, let's split the head of the animal. Amalei, so the person who was fattening the animal, who ran the investment, in the previous, when I didn't put in any money into the game, you gave me the full head. Now you're only giving me half the head. Hasha kimikari namila. You're not giving me the way you used to have the standing deal. I would get the entire head would belong to me. Now you're only giving me half the deal. Amalei, so he said to him, Ad hoidana zuzi didi haba. Until now, the money was totally mine. I put up the whole entire investment. And the reason why I gave you the head, because it looks like ribbis. If I didn't give you above and beyond a little bit more than half the profits, it looks like ribbis. So therefore, I have to give you the entire head. But now that you purchased, you invested, you own half the animal, and I own half the animal. So I'm gonna split everything down the middle. You're going to say, but I was the one that was working this partnership. I put in more effort into the partnership, but that's the way it works. Amre, my comment, you should get paid more. That you worked extra on this partnership. That doesn't work. That's not how partners work. Amre and Isha people say, Stamari say, Lamare ka Meshabet Ara Meshabet Nafse Lasule Raya. The plain oris, the plain sharecropper, to the owner of the land, he is more subservient to giving to shepherd his animal, and even though it seems like the person that fattened the animal worked a little bit harder, still Reb Lozer demanded that he split everything in half. So they split the tail and they split the head. So here's a case in the Gemara where it would have been better off where he would have not listened to his wife, and he would have not put in any money into the investment. Do Gemara. Tanu Rabbana. Rabbis taught. Hasham behema lechaveri ad mosei chayav letapel. But now the Gemara talks about, let's say you're the one responsible managing the investment. The investment again is an animal. Somebody bought an animal, and you have to raise it. So how long do you have to? What is the typical arrangement of raising an animal that you have to manage the investment? And again, once you take that responsibility, you can't just back out of the arrangement. If you take on the responsibility to raise the animal, you're the money manager. You can't withdraw from your commitment. So Sumcha says, if it's a female donkey, you have to work for 18 months. Till the 18th month, when the donkey is 18 months, then 18 months old, then you can absolve yourself of the partnerships. If it's young sheep, then you have to work 24 months. If you want to, let's say the shepherd wants to absolve himself in the middle of the term, the investor, the one that bought the animal, could say, stop it. You're now, once you took on the raising of this animal, at least to get it to a situation where the animal can take care of itself, you cannot back out anymore. But here the Brisa says something strange, and the Gemara is going to explain what it means. The first year, the second year is always harder than the first year. What does that mean? So, what's the Gemara saying? Ella, what the Gemara is saying is that the reason why the shepherd cannot back out after the first year, because now is when the hard stuff comes. The animal's a little older, it needs more food, it's maybe a little bit more wilder. So the reason why you can't back out, and the animal's already used to being by one shepherd. So therefore, the manager of the investment cannot back out. The work done for the first year is not compared to the work done for the second year. Tanya Idach, we learned in brother Brisa. When you take on the management of an animal, your friend bought an animal, gave you to raise the animal. Now the animal gave birth to a little baby. How much do you have to be busy in raising the baby? So the Brisa says, "Bedakad lamed yoim." If it's a behema daka, which is like a normal domesticated animal, lamed yoim. Ubagasa, but if it's a big heavy animal, nun yom, you have to wait 50 days. Rav Yossi says, "Bedakal gimel chodoshim." You have to, and behema daka, you have to wait to the vlad is 3 months. You can't, again, once the animal that was in your charge gave birth, you have to now take care of the baby for 3 months. Because you have to work very hard now. And you're getting paid back for it very hard. In other words, you're going to work hard, but you're going to get paid for it very well. My tipula meruba. Oh, I'm sorry. My tipula bidaruba. Why is it so hard? Because it has very thin teeth. In other words, it's very hard for an animal that's a behemoth daka to fend for itself because it has very weak teeth, and therefore the one that's raising the animal has to care for the animal, the baby animal, much harder. And so that now you're going to get paid more for that. Mekan ve'elech. But if beyond a year, beyond, let's say 3 months, let's say the person raising the animal holds on to the baby even beyond 3 months, so now you get paid. You take half your profits. The chatzi mechza b'shel chavere, and you take half of from your friend. So basically, you're going to take 75% of the investment as it pertains to the baby animal. And the Gemara says that story. Rav Nasha Bargada Shokol Mechza B'Shaloi V'Chatzi Mechza B'Shal Chavera. He took the guy who gave him the animal to raise had a baby. So Rav Nasha took care of the animal, and then when the animal was beyond 3 months, he started taking more of the profits. And then he probably sold the animal or got rid of it. And he said, I take your half, I take half of your half. So that was an arrangement, except that it wasn't, they didn't do an appraisal to say what it was worth at 3 months. It was based on Rab Nasha's word. Also the Kamed Abaya. So they came to Abaya, and probably the investor said, I don't trust this Rab Nasha to say, oh, at 3 months it was worth this amount, and now he wants anything above that, half the profits. Amalei, so Abaya said, Man Palaglach, who did the division for you? When in some places, once you take on the right to raise the responsibility to raise the animal, you have to continue to raise the animal, and you'll continue to split the profits. You're not going to take all of the profits. So we're in that type of environment. So Abaya took issue with Rab Nasha's self-assessment, so to speak. Now, yeah. So now listen to this story. And this is a story that happens always in business. Hanibei Trei Kutoi. There was two Jews who were not so frum. The Avid Iskab Hadida. They had a partnership, okay, with 4 lines from the bottom of Samach Tesamad Aleph. Also Chad Menayu. So let's say they had $1 million in the bank. Also Chad Menayu. One of them went Palag Zuza Beloidati de Chavei. Took out his $500,000. He said $500,000 belongs to me, and he didn't tell his friend that I'm absolving the partnership. And then let's say he took the $500,000 and put it into another investment and made a killing. So the person who was his original partner said, wait a second, that money that you took out was mine. I was, it was mine. So also the Kami de Rapapa, they came to Rapapa, Amalei, so Rapapa said, my nafkamina. This is an easy way to, when you're absolving money, when you're separating money, half the money belongs to each partner. And therefore, you don't have to let the other partner know that you're taking out half the money. And so therefore, if he made a killing on another investment, it doesn't belong to his original partner. Rav Nachman says, Zuzi, money in the bank, command the pligidam. It's as if it's divided already. So in this case, where they had $1 million in the bank, and one of them took out $500,000 and invested it somewhere else without telling his partner, the original partner doesn't have a share in that return, because he's basically taking his own money back. Lashana Zavin Chamra Bahadidar. So these same partners, these same Jews, bought wine. The next year they bought wine. Come idach palagle beloy daite the chaver. So one guy said, the other guy who said, I'm going to take half the wine and sell it, and without my friend's knowledge, and I'm going to invest it somewhere else. And he was pretty successful. So now again, they came back to our papa. The other partner said, I'm entitled for the good investment that my partner made. Also, the Kami to our papa came to our papa on Malay. He said, Man Palaglach, who was the overseer that you divided the partnership? You have to have somebody, arbitrator, to oversee how you're going to divide the partnership. Amalei. So the guy said, wait a second. Last year, my friend divided the partnership without telling me. Now this year, I'm dividing the partnership without telling him. Amalei. So he said to Rapapa, Kachazine de Bastadika Asimar. I see that you have something against me, and you're paskening against me. It seems that you went against me in this scenario, and last year you also went against me. So we now turn the page. We go to Samach Testament, Samach Beth, Samach Beis. Papa said, "Ki hai gab nevada tzarich leidia." In this situation, I really have to explain myself. Mi shakal tuvi v'shavik chazdrei. In other words, did you take the better wine and leave the not good wine? Because wine is very hard to break a partnership. You have to have an arbitrator. Money, you don't have to have an arbitrator. Everybody knows some wines is good, some wines are not good, and therefore to arbitrarily to divide up a partnership that the merchandise is wine, then you need an arbitrator to help you with that division. However, if it's just money, anybody could walk away from the partnership without telling his friend. Gufa, Rab Nachman said, "Zuze command the paligdilmi." When you have money in a partnership, it's as if it's divided. But money is hani mili tavi v'tavi tikuli v'tikuli. It has to be the same type of coins. Avatavi, it's kuli light. There's some coins that they weigh lighter, but they have a good the picture on the currency is very good, so it's very acceptable, in all machines, so to speak. And some of them have a bigger weight, but they don't have a good surah. They don't have the picture is rubbed out, and therefore it has to be the same type of coins in order to buy to keep to if the same types of coins, then we consider it as if divided. But if there's a mixture of coins, you would still need a arbitrator. Rav Chama have a moige zuzah shita b'yaima. Rav Chama had this new idea to get by ribis. How do you get by ribis? He says, I'm renting money. Okay. So the Gemara says, what do you mean you're renting money? Renting money, that's ribis. So Rav Chama said he tried to put in documents language that would indicate that it's not ribis. The Gemara says a bit fascinating thing. Kali Zuzi the Rav Chama. Rav Zuzi's, the Rav Chama lost all his money. He was involved in ribis, so he lost all his money. Who shava? Because Rav Chama held my shnama mara. What's the difference? You rent money to renting a shovel. Loihi, but that's not difference. There's a big difference. Mara hadra be'ein nevi the b'chasei. A shovel, everybody knows what it's worth, and the devaluation. You get the same shovel back when you rent it out. Zuze like hadra be'ein nevi b'chasei. No one knows the depreciation of money, and in the original money that you're renting, or so to speak, it's a loan, so it's must be spent out into the market, and you never getting the same money back in return. So therefore, this switch of language is not a way to get by to Isser of ribis. Now the Gemara says another two more halachas in the inyan of ribis. Amar Rava. Rava said, "Shari leile inish lemeimele chavere." A man could say to his friend, Heilach Dalet Zuze Va'isve Leplanya. Beautiful thing. A man could say to his friend, here's 4 zuzim. Now go give somebody else a loan. So basically, it's not that the borrower is going to give the ribis. Somebody else, a third party, is giving the ribis to get the loan off. So the Gemara says that's not ribis. Like asra toire ela ribis habam ilayve lemalva. Ribis is only asr if it's from the borrower to the lender. Another Gemara. Rava said, and finally we can stop in a minute. Shari le'inish, a person is permitted to say lechavre to his friend, shakalach abar zuze v'amale leplaini leisveze. A person is allowed to get an agent, pay an agent to get somebody else to get a loan. So you pay an agent, and the agent convinces somebody else to make a free loan to you. So that's nothing wrong with that. My Tama, there's nothing wrong with the agent taking money. It's not ribis. He's not the lender anyway. He's taking the money to convince the lender to make the free loan. Kiha, like the following story. The Abba, the son of Rapapa, was a rich person. He took a little wax from a wax maker to get his father to loan the wax maker money. He told his father, Dad, lend this guy money. Amalei Rabbanan, so Rabbanan said to Rapapa, you're eating ribis. You're lending somebody a loan, but that guy is paying your son to convince you to make the loan. Amalei, so Rapapa said that's not ribis. Kolki hai ribuse nechel. This ribis I can eat. I can like asr Torah el ribis haba miloiv malva. The Torah only asr only if the borrower is paying the lender. But not if the borrower is paying an agent to convince the lender to make a free loan, that's not a problem. He's taking the agent is taking the reward for convincing, and therefore that is permitted. Okay, we're going to stop over here. We're going to continue the Mishnah tomorrow on Samach Tes Amid Beis. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Enjoy
Okay,
your Simcha.